You're listening to Exploring Anime with Friends, a JMO for Real podcast on YouTube, Spotify, Apple, and all major podcasting networks. I'm your host, JMO! And today's friend is my wife and co-host. How's it going today, Sarah?
Hi, everyone. It's going good today.
Excellent, excellent. You excited for today's episode of Exploring Anime with Friends Movie Edition?
Yes, I'm so excited for this one.
Right? No, this one was absolutely amazing. Today we'll be exploring the world of Your Name, a supernatural drama with themes of romance, released in July of 2016. We're going to dive in. We're going to talk about our female lead in this one. We're going to talk about our male lead in this one. We're going to talk about the very strange, unique relationship that the two of them share together, and then the day that changed everything. And once again, wow, right? This movie kind of made me realize that I don't watch enough good movies.
Right?
Right? I don't watch enough movies that challenge me mentally, that actually get me to think about it, because and I'm not saying that it's overly complex or anything,
because it's not really.
I'm just simply pointing out, it felt like half the time I was a scene behind when I was catching up immediately. And that could be because I was watching around nighttime, but at the same time I still remember everything super fresh. So this is one of those ones where it's gonna live in my head for a very long time, and honestly, had a lot of fun with it. Let's start talking. Let's first introduce you to our female lead, Mitsuha. Talk to us about Mitsuha.
So before I say anything about her, which I'm going to jump into, I wanted to add that this movie is one of the reasons I'm glad we started doing these podcasts. Because I never would have watched this if we hadn't. And it is so good. Anyways, Mitsuha, she's a girl in high school, and she's doing all the girl high school things. Her father is the current mayor of the city she lives in. It's a very small town with this very large lake. And
beautiful mountainside.
Beautiful mountainside. And Mitsuha, she works as a shrine maiden, basically, that in her grandma's shrine that her family's kind of inherited. And she's just kind of tired of living in the small town. It's
a Shinto shrine, too. Though it's funny because she doesn't dislike the work that she's doing with her grandma. She just dislikes the overall lack of variety, lack of appeal. She wants more, though she's very content with her work. She wants more to her life overall. And she has some family with her.
Yep, she lives with her sister and her grandma. And her dad's around, kind of, but he's kind of busy being the mayor. She has two friends that she hangs out with quite a bit. And it's just small town vibes with everyone.
Yeah, she's not super close to her father because her father's always busy doing stuff and he's holding them to a higher standard. And frankly, on the day that they lost their mother, he just kind of left the family business. He wanted no more work to be done with the shrine.
Because he didn't really care about the shrine. He cared about his wife.
Yeah. And the daughters at that point in time went to stay with the grandmother, and they devoted their life to helping their grandmother out. And honestly, Mitsuha is a pretty good granddaughter as a whole, right?
She is. She really is.
She's very spiritual as a whole. She takes the time to do the dances. She takes the time to make the shrine offerings and everything. And she takes the time to just, whether she's doing it for herself or whether she's doing it for her grandmother, not 100% sure, but at the same point in time, she does enjoy the simple things, but she also wants more. Now, talk to us about our main male, Taki.
So Taki's a high schooler as well. We get to meet a couple of his friends. And he's just living life. He's got school, he's got work. He's very focused on needing to make money. We're not quite sure why. He does live with his dad.
Yeah, he lives with his dad, but it almost feels like they're not really living together at all.
They're roommates almost.
Yeah, it feels like he's roommates with his dad in a busy city in Tokyo. It's the only interaction you see is when his dad's like, "You slept in again. You were supposed to make us breakfast today. There's some leftovers for you on the counter. Please try to make it to school today." And
that's it.
Blah, blah, blah. It's just kind of like living with it almost felt like he was living with his older brother roommate, right?
Yeah, for sure. The one thing he does have is he has Tokyo. He lives in this bustling city. That's the one thing our female protagonist wanted.
Yeah, no, it's kind of funny because they both are, it's almost like he's searching for meaning in his life, meaning that she has found in her life, and she's searching for adventure in life, adventure that he has found in his life.
Yeah.
So in some ways, they're almost searching for the exact thing that the other one of them has. And, you know, he has good friends. He has supportive friends. He has friends that will listen to him and that will remind him of stuff and that are looking out for him. And she has friends too, but they're not, it doesn't seem like they're the same level of commitment to her as his are to him. And it's really important to point out the friends and how their level of commitment to them because of the relationship that Taki and Mitsuha share. And the relationship that they share, they have never met each other in person at a point in time. Well, I guess that's not true. They met each other in person, but he didn't know he was meeting her.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like, well, the relationship they share, talk a little bit about it.
All right, so one day, Taki wakes up and he's in Mitsuha's body. But he just thinks this is a dream. Now listen, if I woke up in someone else's body and it was a lucid dream, I would be testing the limits. He just goes about her life. He gets dressed, he
does make a couple of discoveries before he goes about it. So
he does.
Yeah, no, we'll leave it at that.
I'll just leave it at that.
Check the rating before you watch it.
Yes, check the rating. But he goes and eats breakfast with grandma and sister. He goes to school as her. He goes to classes. I'm like, how boring. If I was dreaming in someone else's body, I would be like running around, seeing things. But yeah, he just wakes up in her body. He doesn't know what the heck's going on. And then eventually, the next day, she just wakes up naturally. And her sister's like, you were acting weird yesterday. And all her friends were like, you were acting weird yesterday. And she's like, what happened yesterday?
Well, and it's funny, too, because at the same point in time, she wakes up in his body that same day.
Yep.
And I don't know, like, obviously, the link is when they both fall asleep around the same time.
I guess.
So it doesn't go too much into that, but there is a body swap. Their souls travel through the space between them and, frankly, through more, because we learned something a little bit later on that, you know, after we talk about this, we'll bring into it. But they swap, and they're both going about their days, and they both think that they're dreaming. But at the same point in time, they have no clue how to do what they're doing in the other person's life.
Yeah.
Because they really don't know. Like, she's going through the day. She shows up late for classes because it takes her forever to find the school that he goes to.
Yeah, because she doesn't know.
Because she's not used to navigating through the giant city. And she gets a text from work while after school hanging out with her friends. And it's kind of like, apparently I have a job. So where's it at, guys? And they're like, what? What do you mean? Where's it at? And I thought it was funny because when she's going to work in his body and she's helping everything out and she's not used to dealing with aggressive customers, like there's a customer that is actually trying to scam them.
Definitely scamming them.
And one of the female employees steps in and stands up for her and, you know, takes care of the situation.
Yeah.
Gets her dress cut by one of the guys who's just an absolute degenerate.
Yeah.
So Mitsuha in Taki's body decides that she's going to help her coworker when all is said and done, and she stitches it back together because Mitsuha, as a shrine maiden, actually
knows how.
weaves tapestries. Beautiful tapestries that are used for different ceremonies and whatnot. So it's one of those things where she makes Taki more appealing to his female coworker that Taki was crushing on all the time.
That all the guys were crushing on.
Yeah, that all the guys were crushing on all the time. And he never had the guts to ask out. So she actually starts to form a relationship for Taki. Meanwhile, he's just being more aggressive in her body.
Because, like, where she is, she's starting to get poked at and made fun of. Like, your dad's the mayor and you're a shrine maiden. You do weird things as a shrine maiden. No one wants to hang out with you, but she has her two friends. And Taki's just like, I'm not putting up with you making fun of not me, but me. And he's just taking care of business.
Yeah, so they're leaving an impact on each other's life. And then it goes into a musical montage at some point in time. And honestly, I love the way they do the musical montages in this. This is a story that could have taken place over the course of maybe multiple movies.
Yeah.
But they use a musical montage to speed it up, to show the progression and everything, to show how they're actually living each other's lives, to show how they're interacting, how they're leaving notes for the other one about what they did and what they set up for them the next day and, you know, take advantage of this. And one of the things that Mitsuha does for Taki, she asks out the girl from his place
Yeah.
of work for him.
And all the guys at the restaurant, because he works at a restaurant, all the guys are like, bro code, come on. And they're all mad at him. And he's like, what? And then he opens the notes on his phone and he's like, oh my gosh, I have a date.
Yeah, no, she gets him a date. And while they're on the date, she sets up the date perfectly at something that she would enjoy if she were in the city.
Yeah.
And it just goes through and it's showing all the different, they get to a point on that date where they're in a museum and it's showing these beautiful landscapes, beautiful countrysides and everything. And Taki, in his body right now, recognizes some of it from her life when he's in Mitsuha, when he's in Mitsuha's body, and he's just so fascinated by it. And to the point where the other girl just kind of knows, it's kind of like, you know, you used to be crushing on me.
Yeah.
But today I feel like there's someone else. So it just works against him. And one of the things that Mitsuha says to end the date with, there's going to be a comet, a meteor shower, a comet coming through that is going to be absolutely beautiful and breathtaking. And Taki's like, I didn't hear anything about a comet. And sure enough, that night as Mitsuha's in her body, she's seeing the beautiful comet go through the field, and there's a cultural festival. Talk to us about that scene.
And the artwork as a whole is absolutely beautiful. The comet is flying through, and like again, the arc for the comet, beautiful. But part of the comet breaks off, and like so, there's a blue comet continuing forward, and there's like a red part of the comet just breaking off to the side.
Yeah, but it's beautiful the way it hits the sky where Mitsuha is.
Absolutely.
But where Taki is, he can't see it at all.
At first, I thought it was because it was a city thing, because the more lights that are around you, the less you see the stars. I mean, you just don't get that good of a view. So I was like, oh, maybe he just doesn't see it. That's really sucky. That's sad he didn't get to see the comet.
Yeah. So he's trying to figure out, you know, what's going on there. He doesn't successfully close the date because he realizes he's having feelings for Mitsuha at that point in time. Mm-hmm. And he doesn't know what to do or what to say. And the worst part about it is, as the days go on, he realizes that it's been days, weeks, since him and Mitsuha changed places. It's almost like the night of that date changed everything. So he talks to the girl, and he talks to one of his close friends, and they agree to go on a journey with him to find the subject of the pictures he's been making, because during this time, he's been drawing pictures of the lake, of the mountainside, of the town, of the shrine, memories that he has. He's been drawing them down and making beautiful artwork, like replica artwork of the life that he lived when he was living inside of Mitsuha's body. He does searches on the internet to find the general area of where it's at, and the three of them take the trip together. So they keep on following this rabbit trail, and eventually they stop at this cafe that's in this mountainous area, and his artwork is out, and the older lady who runs the cafe with her husband, she looks at it and she's like, wow, that is a beautiful depiction of Itamori Lake. Mm-hmm. And he's like, you know where this is. You know what this place is. How do I get there? And you can see that she is in a little bit of a panic at that point in time. And his friends are in a panic because they know something that he doesn't know.
So the big thing with the comet is when it split off, it hit the town and it utterly demolished it. Part of the town was okay, but everyone was at the festival at that point, and that's pretty much where it hit. And that was within the blast radius of the meteor. So now he's shocked. Taki's just completely shocked. He's like, you know, there's a lot of disbelief. Like he doesn't get it. He can't comprehend it just yet.
And he's like, why haven't I heard this? I've been following the news, and they're like, it happened 3 years ago.
Yeah. Man, when that was on the screen, I was like, what?
And at that point in time, we realize they haven't been just simply swapping each other's bodies. Past Mitsuha was swapping bodies with future Taki.
Yeah. That whole revelation is it blew my mind so bad.
They were living their lives 3 years apart at all times, and it was one of those things where it was kind of like when he comes to this full realization, he's looking everything up, and he finds a ledger of the 500 people that lost their lives there, and sure enough, Mitsua's name is amongst the names of the people who lost their lives during that day because she was at that festival.
Yeah.
So things are starting to become clearer, and he's like, wait, no, we've been leaving notes for each other. And as he pulls out his calendar, like the most gut-wrenching thing happens.
As he pulls out the calendar, look at it, everything is just starting like one by one, delete. It's just getting erased. And my brain snapped. I was like, oh my gosh, why is this happening?
Because at that point in time, it's one of those things where it's kind of like...
It caught up on itself.
Yeah, it like time was... Whatever magical connection their souls were sharing that was going across time was gone because her soul was no longer around. Or at least that's what you believe at the moment. But one of the things, as you're watching, there was a previous scene that seemed a little bit out of place. And it was her going to a shrine to present an offering to it of sake that she made for the shrine. And this was a special one, a ritual one that was said to contain half of their souls.
Yeah.
And Taki remembers this because on that day, his soul was inside her body, and he's
the one that makes the journey with his grandma and his sister, with her grandma and her sister. Yeah.
So at this point in time, he's wondering, is there anything that I can do? And really, that's where we're leaving you guys.
Yeah.
Because I almost feel like that was too much to give you.
Maybe.
But at the same point in time, like, it doesn't go into any of the end game whatsoever.
Yeah.
It just gives you a little bit of hope for the whole, is there a way that it can be transcendent? That they can overcome what they lost. And, I'm leaving it there at that, but it was a beautiful story. And one of the best things about it was it felt like it could go any way at any given point in time.
It was such a roller coaster.
And you would have been content with any of like 4 or 5 different endings, right?
I mean, maybe. Yeah, it was a masterpiece. The music score, the story itself, the artwork, everything was fantastic.
And despite the complexities of soul swapping and traveling through time and all different things.
I usually find like time travel crap annoying, by the way. They did it so well.
Well, it wasn't actual like time travel.
It was, but
the
it
time
wasn't
changing. Their souls were connected from 2 different eras. That's kind of what this was. Even if the eras only were 3 years apart. So I just felt it was woven very nicely to where it was not complicated and convoluted, but there was enough that you had to think about as it was going on. And really, it was a treat for me. This was something that I go in and I think it's kind of like, oh, some sort of romance, country girl, city boy. There's a song about that somewhere, right?
There is.
Like, Don't Stop Believing, or
yeah, definitely.
But yeah, so when I'm thinking this is going to be a cliche romance, we're releasing it in February, so it's kind of like, it's not bad. It fits the theme. There was nothing cliche about this at all. And I called this a supernatural drama with romantic themes over a drama romance with supernatural themes for a reason when I introduced it, because this was really more about the supernatural discovery and the drama of what's happening next than it was about the actual relationship. And honestly, this movie, it has me excited for testing out more anime movies that I haven't seen before.
Absolutely.
How about you, Sarah?
I couldn't take my eyes off it. There was a point in time where Autumn came downstairs, our daughter, and she was just kind of sitting on the side, and like my brain said, you should probably get her to bed, but my heart said, keep watching. Call me a bad parent. I don't care.
I'm not going to call you a bad parent. She enjoyed it too.
She
and
did.
She followed enough. Like at that point in time, things were getting a little more straightforward at that point in time.
Yeah.
But at the same point, it was, absolutely amazing. 100% would recommend, and 100%, it really doesn't matter what you're into. If you're into any form of anime or anime movie whatsoever, or any form of like what we described, this is something that you need to watch.
Absolutely.
We hope you had as much fun exploring the world of Your Name as we did, and consider watching this anime movie. So if you like what you heard today, make sure you listen to us on YouTube, Spotify, Apple, or wherever you stream your podcast. Listen to all of our J-Mill for Real podcasts, and hit us up on social media, like, subscribe, and follow. Once again, this was Exploring Anime with Friends. Let's explore together. And now for a word from our sponsors. Binbuster. Live from YouTube, it's Tuesday night, the call sign of the Binbuster YouTube channel. Once you hear this, you know you're about to embark on a journey through pop culture, movies, comics, and more. Buckle up and enjoy the ride every Tuesday night at 9 p.m. EST. Poppin' Cinema with Joe Mama and Friends. Showcasing the power of cinema, join Joe Mama as he introduces different friends each week to a movie they have not seen before, popping their cinematic cherry as they talk about the movie they just watched every Tuesday at midnight.